Hello, everyone. Melanie here with CGL Recruiting, and I am very excited today to be sharing the screen with Tim Rathmann. Hello, Tim.
Good morning. Hello.
So glad you could join us. And for those of you that are watching, what we're going to be focusing on today is making that change from employee to being a consultant and opening up your own business. Tim's going to walk us through his path as to how he started his career and how he got to where he is today. So, again, thank you, Tim, for sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate this very much. I'm excited to share it.
So tell me, Tim, so people can kind of understand your path to where you are today. How did you start out your career? Talk with us about what you went to school to and your first jobs and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. No, I appreciate this, Melanie, and hello everyone. So I'm a geologist. I started out with a degree. I'm originally from California, so I started out just kind of knowing I like geology. I like rocks. Originally kind of had a passion about oceanography because I lived in California. Later, that transitioned because I get seasick quickly, so that wouldn't work. But I went to high school and I went to UC Santa Barbara. Got my geology degree from UC Santa Barbara in 2001, and started out interning with an oil company that was out there. And it really wasn't what I thought I'd go to school for. The UC Santa Barbara is really not an oil field school, but I was able to intern a little bit, and I got on board with the company right after I graduated. And that basically, and I kicked off my career in oil and gas. I've been in oil and gas for 21 years, and I've seen a number of downturns, number of layoffs. I've been fortunate to spend time overseas. So through LinkedIn, through the recruitment process in 2008, I got the opportunity to go to Australia. So I worked in Australia, oil and gas, for 4 years,
Were you
and
in Perth, Australia, or where were you?
I was 2 years in Adelaide. I worked for Santos, and then I got a job with a BG Group in Brisbane,
Oh,
which is now Shell, and that was from 2008 to 2012, and it was all working, operations, development, a lot of bit of geosteering, bit of at that time when hydraulic fracturing came to play, and the alternatives, the tight gas, coal seam gas, and
mhm.
2012, then I was 4 years visa was expiring, and so I decided to accept a corporate transfer to the office in the UK, BG's office, so it's in Reading, and that was fantastic. So 4 years in Australia. I spent about 15 months in England doing global exploration, new ventures. It really just opened my eyes to that the world of the oil and gas. It truly is a global game, and so that was fantastic. In 2013, we'd been overseas for about 5 years as my wife and my 5-year-old boy at the time. We figured that we wanted to go back to the U.S. to be closer to families. So was able to, we left overseas and went back to California, and I got a job with Oxy in Long Beach,
Mhm.
and all choice locations. I'm actually super lucky,
Yeah,
but
you've been pretty fortunate with your
no,
job locations, I'm
no,
telling you.
yeah, no hardship locations really. Bit of a culture difference, so California from 2013 to 2016, and that's when kind of I got laid off the second time.
Mhm.
That was really when I wanted to start a kind of consulting. Was in 2016. So I set up my entity. It was really kind of nerve wracking because nobody else was doing it at the time. I had a bit of kind of time to sort of focus on things. I wanted to do a real geologist role in the oil and gas and try to get into own deals, working interest, buying into properties. And
Mhm.
so that was a bit scary because I took some financial, withdrawals from a 401k to help finance what I was trying to do, buy up computer equipment, set up, different entities. And then, so I was consulting for a little bit. That's where I got my first client in 2016. That was a bit of a celebration, and it's sort of small jobs, but it kind of get my name out there. And then things picked up a little bit. I did work for regulatory out in California a little while, And then in 2017, I came back to Denver and got on board with the company and thought it was going to be a long run. But then 15 months later, I got let go again in October 2018. So that was the third time in my career, and it was a bit of it was a bit of surprise. It was kind of
Yeah.
something I did not expect. It was the nature of the business, the business decision, and that was one of the times where I was like, okay, I sort of swore to myself. I was like, I can't let this happen again, getting laid off. I know I don't have control over it, but it's an impact on my family. It's an impact, just stressful. I'm no a spring chicken, I'd like to say, in terms of like, graduate level entry into the industry. But that's really when I went kind of full 100% into consulting. And so,
I think it's a little more if you're in oil and gas that
yeah,
if you're not up for the highs and the lows, don't
yeah,
go in oil and gas because it's not a matter if there's going to be layoffs, it's when. And for most people that I talk with, that are a lot of them that are going the consultant role or want to, it's strictly that control issue of they want to have control over their own destiny and be able to not be at the whim of shareholders of,
right.
oh, we got to lay a bunch off and hire a bunch. So I'm not surprised to hear that that was the catalyst for you.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's interesting. It is. I think our industry is a lot more dynamic, absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. Is that if you can't handle the highs and lows, then it's possibly not quite right for you. And I think this latest go around, it's causing a lot of people to pivot, a
Mhm.
lot of individuals to just sort of reflect, reevaluate what they went to school for, what their passion is. COVID, was a double impact on our industry,
Right.
because of it was sort of like a double whammy, basically.
We
And
were already in duress before in 20 end of 2019, right? And
right,
so then
yeah,
COVID happened, and then holy cow, right? But so as we look at this, so now you've made this decision, you started it, you went back, but now you're going after this full force.
right, right,
For those people that are wanting to follow your path, what were some of the, you've already bought the computer equipment stuff. What were
yeah,
some of the first lessons you had to learn in
uh-huh.
making this switch from employee to consultant?
I think um, biggest lesson is networking. Also, come out of your shell. You're gonna have to be an extrovert. You're gonna have to contact people that were part of your past and say, just tell them what you're up to. Try to get as much as advice as you can. And um, I think one of the lessons is that when I started applying for jobs, the biggest one was resume. What are you trying to show you for, how are you trying to, display yourself on resumes? But then the rejection, from applying for a position and getting rejected and not necessarily getting any feedback about why you got rejected. I think the acceptance piece of that, as a geologist, the 1 in 1,000 are going to be applying for a job, or
Right.
1 in 200. Like there's a big there's a big oversaturation, and it was getting over that sort of mentality of feeling bad for myself, gonna get let go, trying to not think that it was something I did personally, which
Right.
I know it wasn't, right. It's just completely business decision. Taking the emotion out of where you're at right now was, I think, probably the most difficult thing,
Right.
and learning. But then realizing what you want to do and start and go out and networking yourself, make kind of self marketing campaign, tell family and friends what you're trying to do, because a lot of the time I got into this mode is like, oh, I'm doing this, nobody else is doing it, so it just constantly, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and
I think you've made a really interesting point, which is that the whole process of being a consultant is similar to just being a job seeker looking for a full-time job.
right, right,
It requires all the same skills. If you hate that process and don't want to do it,
yeah,
you need to seriously think if consulting is the road for you because
right,
I mean, I've had my business now for over 10 years, and
Wow.
I will still have, clients come to me when we're looking at new clients and say, I'd like to understand, your history, your resume. If you're going to be consulting with our company on these HR things, I want to know your background. And so
Right.
I still have a resume. It's just a different focus, right?
Hmm.
It's very accomplishments of here's what we've done for different clients. And you're still going to get that rejection that you get as a job seeker. You're still going
Right.
to do MSAs or statement of works and get ghosted and hear nothing
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
but you still do, I think, have more control because it's not always this one-to-one relationship like it is with a job seeker in a company. You
Hmm.
can be going after 10, 20 companies at the same time. And so it's not that, I don't want to say desperation, but that, oh my gosh, if I lose this one, I have nothing. And
Right.
that comes more and more as you build a team. If you choose to do that as a consultant and build an organization, then you can take on multiple clients, and losing one or two is not a big deal because you always have more coming through the door.
Right. Right.
So you said networking was absolutely key for you.
Yeah.
What do you find are some of the best ways to network as a consultant, which are different from the ways that you would have networked as an employee looking to get a job and join a single company?
Right, right. I think it's a targeted networking group. Is that I think when people are working for a full time company full time, a lot of networking comes up. It's more just a social thing. You already have a job. You're not looking for a job. You're just kind of going out and being social, and maybe networking is part of it for the future. But I am learning to kind of target who I network with,
Mhm.
but become a part of everything. Because you never know. So I originally started joining a bunch of groups. I took over as president of the Denver International Petroleum Society, which is a small group, legacy oil and gas people here. And that was one of the things is that not just networking, but also volunteering,
Mhm.
because it shows you a little bit of your kind of pro bono side. And also kind of is a bit selfless, I think,
Right.
and kind of can improve, people trying to get to know you. Um, Networking was big on LinkedIn. I've always been on LinkedIn, but going to different targeted events. And when you go, I sort of had a specific agenda. A lot of the times, if I knew who was going to be there, or reach out to people beforehand and said, "Hey, are you going to this? Going to this? I'm interested in talking to this guy or this gal. Can you introduce me?" And so it's more strategy of networking and choosing what you want to go. And like the latest one, the Society of Exploration Geophysicists and American Association of Petroleum Engineers, the Image Conference that was in Denver about last month, about a month ago. I joined. I was a member of that, and I sort of signed up for it, saying, and I had specific targets of who I wanted to go. I saw who the vendors were going to be,
Mhm.
and because I sort of realized the past 6 months of where I want to go, and so I target that specific vendors or speakers, and I think it's more strategy rather than just showing up and seeing what happens. It's a strategic networking plan.
It's no different than a company coming in and doing a market analysis before they release a new product, right?
Sure, sure.
You have to think of that, which brings me to you and I talked a little bit before this video about the challenges that you don't realize when you do want to make this move from employee to consultant,
Yeah,
that you're no longer, in your case, just a geologist, right?
right.
You
Correct.
have to do, sales and accounting and
Right.
finance and marketing and
Yes,
everything else, and it can be
absolutely.
a challenge.
Absolutely. It was, I think the first was acceptance is that, okay, you're no longer protected, or you no longer have sort of the standard health insurance
Mhm.
that the company pays for. You don't realize how expensive insurance and how great a benefit it is when companies pay.
And not just
For,
medical, right? Because I mean, it's
right.
it's medical, dental, vision, but people don't think about things like life insurance, like
Yep.
short-term and long-term disability, like accidental death and dismemberment. I mean, there's all these
Yeah.
occurrences that you get
Right.
and benefits. It's expensive when you go out on your own. There's no doubt
Yes.
you have to plan for that.
Right. And stuff like 401ks.
Mhm.
And then just the comfort of waking up and, hopefully it's comfort to everyone, waking up and going to work and being fulfilled and having a paycheck like that. That steady paycheck is sort of one of the biggest risks of going to be a consultant. And again, it kind of factors in. It's a realization that there's a lot more factors involved when working full time versus consulting, and it's challenging. And like you said, yeah, I was I, I was my own salesperson. I was my own accountant. I was my own tax reviewer, and then I was my own IT guy. I had built the website and email, finding an office, and then marketing yourself.
Right.
And then you actually have to do the proposal, your own attorney with some help, making sure contract reviews, and then you have to do that work so that the technical side of it, and then you present it. And then the most frustrating thing I think is on the backside is when the project is complete and all the deliverables, the client's happy. I'm pleased because I can close the door. Well, then you send an invoice, and as a consultant, as a contractor, if it's sort of independent, don't have a lot of I'm working with small startups, and so timing of paying that invoice can be quite delayed, and that's where the frustrating is that we did all this work, and now my first client, it took them 7 months for me to get paid,
Oh my
uh,
gosh.
because it was so small. They were part of the deal was that they had to fundraise for the project it was proposing, and then I got paid on the backside when that was all funded. That was a learning lesson, and so I think I've learned now to sort of request like 20% up front,
Mhm.
and then once the project reviews, then the invoice, then you submit another invoice. But getting paid is a big challenge.
I think consultants a lot of times are unsure when they start down this process when they're making this move from employee to consultant. And what happens is they own, I don't want to say they give away their services for free, but they feel not yet worthy
Right.
to ask for things that a regular company would ask. And so one of
Absolutely.
the things I always tell people is you are valuable and your skills are valuable and you're worthy of the same level of respect. So
Hmm.
don't think, oh, I can't ask for a retainer or I can't ask for this. You can, right? If a
Right.
company
Right.
says no and they don't want to, then you have a choice to make whether you want to work with that company or not.
Hmm.
But it's you're not being arrogant or over the top by asking for the same things that a larger company would ask for. If
Hmm.
anything, they usually get a better level of customer service from you than they're ever going to get from a large,
Sure.
2,000 people company.
Right, right. Yeah, the quality of product I think is much higher, and the attention to detail. Because for
Yeah.
me, I'm making sure I'm thorough, I'm accurate. I ask questions because I want it to be correct,
And
and
it's customized, right? I mean,
it is customized.
you're so laser focused on that one customer. You customize what you're
Yeah,
offering as a consultant, and that's part of what you need to make sure you're including in your sales strategy and in your marketing plan, that level of customization that you're going to give them.
yeah, absolutely. And I think to add, it's a two-way street. Is that for me, personally, I need to understand the greater picture of the client, what the client wants, who I am going to be working with, what their little bit of background is, and it's important to have a good rapport to get
Mhm.
along organically in a fashion because you don't want to work with something you can't get along with. As much as I would hate to decline an offer, but if we can't work together, it's just not going to be beneficial. So I constantly try to make sure I understand what the client is looking for and be flexible on stuff like payments, stuff like, okay, meeting scheduled in 10 minutes and I'm already an hour drive in and then they cancel it. Okay, well, then we have to turn around and it happens. Uh,
It does, right?
Being completely open-minded and flexible is even more of a challenge and more of a skill set that needs to be developed if you want to be a consultant.
So I know one of the dangers, Tim, when you are making this move from employee to consultant,
Yeah.
it's overwhelming sometimes to your life because you can't turn it off, right? Your brain is
Correct.
100% thinking on that all the time, nights, weekends,
Yeah,
until you can really kind of build in some work-life balance.
sure.
What do you do to build in that work-life balance now that you are doing this consulting full time?
Yeah, no, I thanks for the question. And it's sort of, I think you're right. My mind was never turned off because I'm constantly sort of looking for work, thinking about the project, or wanting to make sure that I deliver to the client. So that work-life balance was a little bit tricky during COVID because everyone, I have a 14-year-old son, and so everyone's, kids stayed home. You can see this is my home basement office. This is also my son's. It was his Xbox center for a while, and so we sort of balanced it. But I got the schedule of I was actually working early in the morning, and so then it was flexible during the day because we live in a small house, and then I was working late at night. And then my wife's a nurse, and so she's been working full time. So
Right.
I was able to sort of be flexible. But during COVID and Colton, we actually decided to get a little bit of relief from work and just the stress of COVID and stuff. And so we decided to raise chickens, and
What?
and so we have. This was about March of 2020.
Mhm.
We were thinking about for a while and decided to buy a book. I've never raised chickens
So
before.
you didn't like come from a farm or anything like that. This was
No,
a brand new.
No, yeah, I came from California and just living in the city. There was no chickens, and we just we like animals and wanted to do a little bit extracurricular. So I bought a book about how to raise chickens, and then
Mhm.
we went to the local farm store and we got 5 chicks, and we raised them in the basement for a while. But then a month later, we fell in love with them, and so we decided to get 3 more.
So how many do you
And
have now?
so now we used to have 8. Well, now we have 7. We lost one, unfortunately, but I think that was comic relief. My son and I, we built the run. We bought a coop, and we
Oh,
just learned on our own. My son's a big bird lover, but that was one of the things that was a distraction of consulting, distracted from COVID, distraction from the oil price collapsing, and just brought
right.
in work life balance and a little bit of comic relief, and they're all really healthy. I do have the Instagram page set up as sort of a
Yep.
side passion project.
Tell me, what is your Instagram page for your
Okay,
chicken?
so we live in Denver. It's hashtag Denver City Hens,
Denver
and
City Hens.
no, lot of people. We're just 3 miles southeast of downtown, and not a lot of people realize that you can raise chickens in the city. And we actually, on a single permit, we're allowed 8 hens, no roosters because of the noise. But then we're allowed 2 dwarf goats on the same permit for $25 one-time fee. You have to have enough space, of course. But it's one of these legacy, things about Denver, and that where it's like, wow, we got the space in their backyard. Let's do it. We're open to all sorts of possibilities and fun things,
I
and it
love
was
that
been
you're
great.
doing it. It is important when you're in that consultant role to have that work-life balance and
Yeah.
something that's going to pull you out. And I can only imagine when you're in the backyard feeding chickens, they demand your attention, right? You
Absolutely,
don't get that
absolutely.
opportunity.
They are
Um,
very social creatures, and once you learn, they all have names, and you walk out the door, and they come running up to you, and actually ours know our kitchen window and know the time of day that we normally feed them, and they come right up. One of them actually pecks at the glass, and if we have the door open, they'll come walking right into our kitchen, which is pretty hilarious.
that is
But
hilarious.
but
Oh my gosh.
it's
I don't know if I'm going to let my kids watch this video. They're going to be
There, it's
laughing.
in it. Yeah, yeah, but it's I mean, people, it's chicken therapy. It's really taking care of somebody else that don't have to worry. And it was great during COVID. It's always great, and that's a fun fact about me and my family.
Tim, I know that people are going to have more questions from this video
Sure.
that about your journey going from employee to consultant and some of the
Yeah.
lessons that you learned. So I do want to make sure that I do share with everybody. Of course, always connect with me on LinkedIn. We
Sure.
hope you to subscribe subscribe to the channel, share it if you feel like it's valuable with others. But please also feel free to connect with Tim on LinkedIn as well. And if you're interested in checking out more information about his company and some of the services and what he's done, you can definitely check that out. This is his website, rivieraunconventionals.com. So please feel free to go out there, connect with him on LinkedIn, check out his website. And if you have questions about making this move, especially if you're a geologist,
Right.
like, man, those geologists got really hit hard with layoffs during COVID.
Yeah, we got hammered.
They did get hammered, and it still hasn't come back right all the way. But so if you'd like to learn more about his journey, please consider putting a comment down below. I will make sure and we look at every comment, get Tim's feedback as well. Tim, you can go in there and reply to any of the comments as well.
Great.
Is there any last bit of advice, Tim, that you would give to individuals like you who are thinking heavily about making this move from employee to consultant?
I think the biggest thing is making sure you do keep that work-life balance, especially in, I think, your health. I think make sure you take care of your health. If you are laid off right now and still looking for work, I took it as an opportunity to better your health, get into, continue an exercise routine, consider eating health, continue eating healthy, and just don't let that work-life balance. Don't get obsessed about not finding a job or getting rejected from a job, and make sure you take time for yourself. And then, self-care, I think, is huge with mental health and stuff. So that's the biggest one, is make sure you still maintain, even though you don't have work, try to maintain a look for work life balance is huge. And talk to people,
Yeah.
share your story. People love hearing stories.
I'm amazed, like people like you, anybody I know who has done this change, they are welcome. The inquiries they get from people saying, hey, how did you do this? Or what did you do this? People want to help, right? And they want
Absolutely.
to make a difference in the lives of others. So reach out, because you're not alone if you're trying to do
Yeah.
this. And you don't have to start from scratch on everything. And as we always say, you're worthy, of a great
Yeah.
job, a great career, and a great life, whether it's with a company or if you're a consultant like Tim is.
Right.
Tim, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to record this to hopefully help
Thank
others
you.
along with their journey.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing from everyone. So,
Sounds wonderful. All right, everyone. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
all right.